Hello, everyone. Hope you are doing well. So far, July 2025 has been a dramatic and happening month for U.S. immigration policy. From sweeping new enforcement powers to rising application fees and the confirmation of a new USCIS director, the landscape is shifting quickly. And for millions of immigrants and their families, the stakes couldn't be higher. You may have already heard about the new law President Trump signed on July 4th. It's being described by supporters as one big, beautiful bill. But behind that political branding lies something very real. Billions in new border funding, stricter processing rules, and a surge of enforcement practices now playing out across immigration courts and ports of entry. Whether you're applying for asylum, renewing a work permit, living with TPS, or attending a visa interview, you are now part of a much tougher, faster-moving system. In this video, we'll break down what's in the new immigration law H.R. 1, how it's changing enforcement at the border, what ICE is doing in the courts, and how USCIS is responding with fee hikes and leadership shifts. If you are liking this video, please hit the bell button, subscribe, and like it so that you may get updates straight to your smartphone. Now let's get into the video. First, the biggest development, President Trump officially signed H.R. 1 into law on July 4th, 2025. This sweeping immigration bill passed through the budget reconciliation process, directs an unprecedented $170.7 billion towards border security and enforcement over 4 years. That's nearly 2/3 of the Department of Homeland Security's entire annual discretionary budget, now committed almost entirely to immigration enforcement. In real terms, this means more surveillance, more agents, and more detentions, especially at the southern border. The bill also authorizes significantly higher application fees for immigrants seeking asylum, work permits, or green cards. A new $100 fee for asylum applications has already been implemented, and USCIS is enforcing this aggressively. Any asylum application received after August 21st, 2025, without the correct fee will be rejected outright. At the border, changes are already visible. Militarized enforcement zones now span almost 1/3 of the U.S.-Mexico border. Within these zones, U.S. military personnel have been granted expanded powers, including the authority to detain and arrest individuals caught crossing the border without authorization. These changes blur the lines between immigration enforcement and military oversight, and civil liberties groups are raising alarm bells. Meanwhile, U.S. Customs and Border Protection reported that in June 2025, they achieved a new benchmark: 0 illegal immigrant releases at the southwest border for the second month in a row. In coordination with U.S. attorneys, hundreds of individuals have already been prosecuted under the updated guidelines, mostly for illegal reentry and identity-related violations. What's happening inside immigration courts is just as concerning. A new policy allows ICE officers to arrest individuals directly at their immigration court hearings. This means that immigrants, many of whom are attending their hearings to comply with legal requirements, can be detained on the spot. DHS argues that this policy makes enforcement safer and more efficient. But a class action lawsuit filed by immigration advocates claims it violates due process and deters people from showing up in court at all. Another major policy shift relates to temporary protected status. In July, the Trump administration announced the termination of TPS designations for several countries, including Nicaragua, Honduras, Haiti, and Nepal. These decisions were based on DHS claims that conditions in those countries have improved. For many longtime residents of the U.S. with TPS, this termination could mean the end of their work authorization and protection from deportation. The only small reprieve came for South Sudan, whose TPS designation has been automatically extended until November 3rd, 2025. But for thousands of families from other countries, the message is clear. Time is running out, and legal protections are being narrowed quickly. All of these enforcement efforts are now being overseen by a newly confirmed director of USCIS. On July 18th, Joseph Edlow was confirmed by the Senate to lead the agency. Edlow is no stranger to Trump-era immigration policies. He helped craft many of them during the former administration and has remained active in immigration advocacy and litigation since. His appointment signals a return to stricter interpretations of the law and more skepticism toward humanitarian protections like asylum and parole. Under Edlow's leadership, USCIS is also cracking down on processing efficiency, though not in the way most applicants hoped. Instead of speeding up approvals, USCIS is introducing new screening procedures and increasing scrutiny of applications across the board. Applicants for work permits, family-based visas, and humanitarian relief are reporting more requests for evidence, RFEs, and delays than at any time this year. So what does all of this mean if you're an immigrant, a sponsor, or an applicant in 2025? First, it means preparation is now more important than ever. Whether you're attending a court hearing, a visa interview, or submitting a new application, be sure your documents are complete, up to date, and aligned with the latest fee requirements. USCIS has stated they will no longer give grace periods after August 21st. If your payment is wrong, your case will be rejected without notice. Second, be extremely cautious with travel, especially if you're on TPS or in removal proceedings. Immigration agents now have wider discretion at ports of entry, and ICE is expanding arrests across the board. Third, if you're applying for asylum or work authorization, check the updated fee structure immediately. If your application is postmarked after July 22nd, it must include the new fee. Don't wait. Missing that detail could set your case back by months. And finally, don't underestimate the broader political picture. With Joseph Edlow confirmed as USCIS director, and with DHS now equipped with billions in new enforcement funding, the agency is poised to fast-track many of its most aggressive policies in the second half of 2025. This isn't just about border security anymore. It's about a fundamental reshaping of who gets to enter the United States, who gets to stay, and on what terms. That's all we have in this bulletin. The U.S. Immigration News Updates provides all necessary visa information and procedures for your U.S. immigration journey. It is important to understand the United States immigration processing steps, visa application requirements, processing times, forms, fees, and more. We will continue to provide all information about U.S. visitor visas, such as B1 and B2, work visas such as L1A, L1B, and H1B, student visas, green cards, immigrant visas, EB1, EB2, EB3, EB4, and EB5, and family immigrant visas. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the U.S. Immigration News channel. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.